Okay, so we're going to talk about Taylor Swift, which, believe it or not, is something that I am very familiar with, I am very familiar. I have a Taylor Swift tattoo. It's a little red 13. It's in like the Reputation font, and I got it when I went and I saw her in Atlanta. Oh my gosh. 51 weeks ago. It'll be a whole year next Monday. Crazy. It was great. It was so fun. I'm so excited about this album. I was excited about it when it was like first announced, and I don't think she was anticipating winning Album of the Year, and so that's why she announced it when she won both Best Pop Vocal Album for Midnights. Really excited to hear about that. Here's my thing though. So from the start, she was like, I've been holding on to this for 2 years. And then, you know, like it was announced or it was released on April 19th. And then she's like, oh, it's also a double album. It's going to be out at 2 a.m. Let's get one thing straight. It's not a double album. It's an extended edition. Because if it were a double album, it would be, I think, more like Folklore and Evermore, where it has its, you know, it's close. I think the release would have been closer, maybe like by a couple days or something. But it would have its own cover, which I know that the anthology technically does have its own cover, but it is still within the Tortured Poets Department like photo shoot. Like it's still from the same photo set with the same sepia tones and everything. So also because it was released on April 19th also, it is just it's more of an extended edition than it is 2 separate albums, especially because they're literally on the same like record. Now, for Recording Academy purposes and, you know, awards and such, having the 16 track Tortured Poets Department released first, that's the one that will get awards. That's the one that will have like the commercial success attached to it. Whereas the anthology is like just fan service essentially. Because, and this is a huge theme of the album also, Swifties hounded and cajoled and bullied her so much that it was almost like a relenting of, okay, fine, if you're gonna be crazy about Karma, supposedly, if you're gonna be insane about the 1989 double album, like, here's a double album. Now, shut up and let me live my life. Which is a bummer for 2 reasons. The first one being that, like, she felt like her hand was forced, like she had to appeal to and appease Swifties. It's also a bummer that, like, it genuinely wasn't like a real album. Like, it was kind of a cop-out. I'm not complaining. 31 tracks is insane. But let's just call it what it is here. It's not 2 albums. The anthology is an extended version. Just like with Midnight's 3 a.m. and, you know, whatever, there was like 4 of them. So let's be real about that. But with that said, this is like her most complex album. This is the most poetic. This is the most ambiguous. This is the most frustrated album. I don't want to say angry per se, because that's not like the flavor of this emotion. We'll call it frustrated. As a fan base, we have done a lot for Taylor, Miss Swift. Okay, sidetrack from that. This feels weird because I want to approach like whatever videos I make pretty academically. I don't want it to be like all up in her business, overly speculating about things. Like I want to focus on textual evidence, or at least on things that she has said or we have like legitimate evidence for. instead of like with the double albums or the triple album when she was wearing blue, red, and green, when it was like, oh my gosh, and then she's doing this and it must mean that this, and it's like, no, like we don't have any credible evidence for that. That is speculating too far into her life. So I want to have like a boundary almost. As such, I don't know what to call her, because like just calling her Taylor is like very parasocial. Calling her Swift is a little bit too, because that's what I would do if I'm reading, Dylan Thomas. If I'm reading a Dylan Thomas poem and I'm writing an essay about it, I may be like, Thomas suggests in this line that da 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 through whatever. Oscar Wilde, in The Importance of Being Earnest, Wilde argues that whatever. I'm not going to call him Oscar. I'm not going to call F. Scott Fitzgerald Scott or F or whatever. Fitzgerald Scott Fitzgerald. So calling her Swift feels weird, because also like she's happening now, like not like 200 years ago. So I've thought about like Miss Taylor. No, Dr. Swift, maybe the honorable honorary Dr. Swift. So I'd like to maintain a boundary from her, the person, and her body of work. I want to focus mostly on the bodies of work instead of like her and her personal life, because she might just be just like us for real, where she's, you know, depressed and acting like it's her birthday and crying and being productive and having all these voracious emotions, but we are nothing like her. I am not her. None of her fans are her. No other person is her, insofar as like she is just as much of an individual human being as me or my husband or the Swiftie fan accounts that I follow across the world. She's a billionaire. She's a Grammy Award winner. She's, you know, a 5'11" blonde. Like, I am not her. And so I can't speculate on things that I don't know. I can't make assumptions or draw conclusions based on experiences that I've never had about a person's life who I've never met. So she can relate to us, but we can only relate to her music. We cannot relate to her. And so I would very much like, it's my goal to stay as closely to the text as possible, and the text, of course, being her music, interviews that she's conducted, social media posts she's made, videos she's been in, not, you know, TikToks of the crazy girl at 12 a.m. saying, oh my gosh, I think this is what's happening next, or why, or whatever. And the same goes for the individuals involved in the album. We all know who they are, but we don't know which one is which. It's decently easy to guess, especially if you've been listening to her for years, a decade and a half, especially if you're listening closely. However, one thing that she exercises incredibly in this album is literary ambiguity. Like, that is the point. Because we have been so overly involved and interested in her life, because she has given us so much over the years, it's unusual almost to have like, to her kind of put her foot down and be like, you do not get to know everything that happens, while also being like, okay, but I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. And that truly is the dichotomy that she has come to at this point, which she grapples with in the album. Must Like Me For Me posted, Taylor wrote this for Amazon Music. As for Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, Swift revealed that she wrote the tune, quote, alone, sitting at the piano in one of those moments when I felt bitter about just all the things we do to our artists as a society and as a culture. There's a lot about this particular concept on the Tortured Poets Department, she added. What do we do to our writers and our artists and our creatives? We put them through hell. We watch what they create, then we judge it. We love to watch artists in pain, often to the point where I think sometimes as a society, we provoke that pain and we just watch what happens, which is scathing. Ugh. And I love that song. I love that song. It doesn't make me think of her necessarily, which I will get into eventually, but I love that song. Yeah, she encapsulates it. Well, obviously she encapsulates it perfectly. She freaking wrote it. But the whole point of the weird give and take between especially her. Like, this is the biggest debut in Spotify history. 313 million streams. In 3 days, she has 637 million streams on this album. That's insane. That's insane. And she's given us 31 tracks. She's given us so much. And she can't not give. I think as an artist, as who she is, she's proved herself over the years. She can't not give. As a poet and a writer myself, it's such a, I don't know. I do not have this level of acclaim. So I love giving. I love sharing, because not only is it like selfishly satisfying for people to be like, that's amazing, wow, but it's also like, oh my gosh, the release of somebody else can hear this. Like, she, in the Tortured Poets department, when she says, but you told Lucy you'd kill yourself if I ever leave, and I said that to Jack about you, so I felt seen. There's such an innate need to share and to get it out, and to have somebody else feel what we feel, which ironically and unfortunately for Taylor Swift in particular, it's such a double-edged sword, because, you know, people will just keep taking and keep demanding. I can do it with a broken heart when she talks about all the pieces of me shattered as the crowd is chanting more. And at first I was thinking about it, no one's yelling like even encore or whatever, but synthesizing like the Eras Tour and social media, when every single week it's like, Taylor Swift wears this outfit, which means that this album's coming, or that she's doing this with these people, whatever, like, that noise is the demanding and the chanting of more. What you've given us, the tears and the years and the hundreds of tracks that you've given us isn't enough. We still want more, which she's gonna give, because that's who she is. That's what she does. That is what she's chosen and what she continues to do, and is doing so successfully, but also is racking up such an insane cost. The prophecy, the prophecy literally does state, though, when she was like, I don't want money, I just want somebody who wants my company. Like, sorry girl, you're a billionaire. Which is so sad. Like, when you think about truly how much money she's amassed from doing this thing that she loves, it's so sad. She's so empty. And I truly believe that, like, there is joy that she feels in performing. There's no way she can't feel this incredible rush and this, like, these glimpses of joy and just, like, insane sublimity when she's on stage for 3 hours, 4 days a week. Like, come on, there's no way in heck that she doesn't feel good doing that. However, just as you can be depressed and not have depression, I think you can feel joy and not be joyful. Which I can do with Broken Heart. Definitely makes me feel guilty for going to the Eras Tour. Because I'm like, oh man, like, I'm sorry that I contributed to, like, the weight that you were feeling. Which, you know, my $200 isn't anything in the dent that was the Eras Tour. $1 billion. That's fine. So my $200 is nothing. However, in my parasocial relationship, this person that I care about, she's written a song about how she was the pathological people pleaser, just trying to be the mirror ball, make everybody happy. and I was a part of that. I was a part of that, but I was also a part of that. I'm part of the problem. So yes, in really loose summary, because like I said, this is very rudimentary. I don't know that I want to sit down and write scripts, but I should maybe like make notes of what I'm gonna say. But I also want to speak from the heart. We're just gonna find out. We're gonna find out together. So relationship drama and pain aside, there are a number of songs that indicate or just reinforce her frustrations about the life that she has. It's a very unusual position to be in for someone who's so famous but so normal at the same time. Someone who is so vulnerable and has given so much of her inner monologues and her thoughts and her feelings and like her whole life, while also needing to have her own space and time and feeling so strongly about what people think of her and trying so hard to divorce herself of that and being like this goofy poet and this international superstar. Just how weird it is. Cages, Boxes, Hunters, Foxes on Tumblr, I reblogged this. Anonymous asked, do we feel this was a legit Maddie record or a couple songs about Maddie? There's a difference, which we can't talk about at a later date. Cages, Boxes, Hunters, Foxes responds, neither. It's a record about what happens when you shatter and everyone's watching. Then the tags say, as opposed to Rep, which is a reputation, which is a record about when you shatter in private and convince yourself a man saved you. Which I think is pretty spot on. This other tag, as others have said, it is not a breakup album, it is a breakdown album. It's a Taylor record, it's always a Taylor record. Yeah. Oh, man. It's a Taylor record, it's always a Taylor record. But we never give her the credit of that. Because she writes so much about other people, even when she writes about herself, and the parasocialization of her, it never feels like it's never about her. It's about how we respond to it. It's about the other people. It's about how we can relate to it. And that's just the lot that she's got. That's just the way that this is going to be. And I think she works so hard to feel like that's not her reality, but that's the reality that we have made for her. Like in Who's Afraid of Little Old Me. You lured me, and you hurt me, and you taught me. You caged me, and then you called me crazy. I am what I am because you trained me. That's it. And so the Tortured Poets department is the wrangling, the grappling, the wrestling with those residual feelings. And it's freaking insane. Okay, so I'm gonna make more. I'm gonna make more of these, whether they get watched or not, because this is an album that I knew from the start was going to be something that was really, really profound and important to me. And then I listened to it and I was like, oh my gosh, I was right. I already have a few lined up that I'm working on, planning, plotting, implementing. Stick around, come watch more. If you've made it this far, thanks for hanging out. If you don't know who I am, this is about it. Obligatory like and subscribe reminder, I guess, but also this isn't important, so do whatever the heck you want, and I'm just gonna do whatever I want also. Okay.